Here we go, Rod. Snow-dusted conditions at McMahon Stadium in Calgary for a classic Western semifinal showdown. The 11-7 Bombers, the 12-6 Stampeders for the right to tackle Saskatchewan in the West Final.
First full football game for Zach Collaros in over a year was 2 weeks ago against Calgary. A win for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. His last playoff action back in 2016, the Eastern semifinal. Zach Collaros starts for Winnipeg today. Bo Levi Mitchell, take a look at his record against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. 11-3, has not lost a playoff game here at McMahon Stadium.
Dave Dickinson might have had his best year as the head coach of the Stampeders. A team overhauled roster, plenty of injuries this year, but an 8th consecutive 12-win season and 5 straight playoff victories here at McMahon. And there's Mike O'Shea as Bombers won the season series for the first time against Calgary since 2002. 4th consecutive 10-win campaign, but looking for their first road victory since late August. Winnipeg won the toss. They're going to get the ball first. -17. The wind chill as we begin. Hello to everybody watching Coast to Coast and on ESPN2. South of the border, here's Nick Taylor on the return, and he'll bring it back across the 25. And Nate Hawley led the charge on the teams for Calgary. Here comes Zach Collaros, making his second Winnipeg start. And he has a rare 3-game winning streak against Calgary.
Yeah, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers finished the regular season with a bye, so essentially had a bye to this playoff game, a chance for Zach Collaros to get some extra work in with his relatively new team. Started the season with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, went to Toronto, from Toronto to Winnipeg.
Of course, he's got the leading rusher in the league, Andrew Harris, who takes the handoff, and Harris with a burst straight ahead up to the 36-yard line on his first touch of this Western semifinal.
2 different offensive philosophies in this final for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It's run first, run second. Heck, it's run third for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. For the Calgary Stampeders, of course, they love to put it in the air, and they've got the best pure passer in the Canadian Football League in Bo Levi Mitchell.
We wondered how often we'd see Chris Streveler today. Reports of a broken bone in his foot. That has not been confirmed, but he's in short yardage. Harris gets 9. And under short yardage, they're going to throw, or will they? No, Streveler will carry the football and run for the first down. Did throw out of 2nd and 1 for a touchdown in a previous game against Calgary this year.
Yeah, good quick decision by Streveler. Let's take a look at their starting offense. There's Andrew Harris, the leading rusher in the Canadian Football League, by a long margin, a large margin over Stanback in Montreal. The nominee for outstanding lineman for Winnipeg, Stanley Bryant, at tackle. Cody Speller is back at center. Started the first half of the season there for Winnipeg.
Well, this is interesting early. Chris Streveler stays in. Didn't practice Thursday after a practice on Wednesday. The Jets sweep to Janarian Grant. And Grant up across the 40-yard line as a pickup of 3.
Leading rusher for Calgary isn't in the lineup. They've had to make changes on that side of the ball as well. So Deshaun Downey plays for Cordero Law on the defensive line. Corey Greenwood is back in the linebacking core. Came off the 6-game injured list and was having an outstanding season in the first half. And is this the last game in the CFL for Brandon Smith? He's announced that he will retire at the end of this season. Calgary hopes he has at least 1 more, possibly 2 more games.
2nd and 7. Collaros hit as he throws, and it is incomplete off the edge. The pressure coming from Wynton McManus.
Well, Wynton McManus will bump out to that outside linebacker. And once he's out there now, he's played in the middle when Greenwood was out, but he can widen now, come on more pressure packages for the Calgary Stampeders. Inside pressure too from Greenwood, coming around the edge. Can't block them all, and Collaros lucky to get it out of there.
Big early story. Terry Williams not in the game, the usual return man for Calgary. Short kick by Medlock, and it is fielded. 26-yard punt. Josh Huff with the recovery and is able to advance it a few more yards after the no-yard flags come down. So Bo Levi Mitchell, 7-2 since returning from injury, gets ready for his first series of the Western Semi. might be like kicking an ice block, and Justin Medlock, usually a reliable punter with just a 26-yard punt. And on the exchange, after the penalty, 11 yards the difference, and so Calgary will start in Winnipeg territory. The Bomber 52. And Mitchell has some time, going to air it out. Wants off deep and overthrows the intended target, but a flag comes down inside the 5.
Mike Jones was trying to track him down. Looked like he got a little early contact just before the ball arrived with a push in the back.
Winnipeg, number 16, spot the foul, automatic first down.
So Mitchell comes out gunning.
Best pure passer in the game. You can see the early contact. Sold a little bit by Josh Huff, but that contact drew the penalty flag. And that will put the ball on the 5-yard line. 47-yard penalty, Mike Jones.
Calgary 10 times in the red zone against Winnipeg, 9 touchdowns and a turnover, and they hand it off. Don Jackson is drilled. Jackson Jeffcoat crashing down, short gain as we set the Stampeders offense for you.
Well, since midway through last season, Kamar Jordan has been rehabbing a knee that was basically reconstructed. 5 days ago, got the medical okay with Eric Rogers out of the lineup. Kamar Jordan gets his first start in 14 months. There's Shane Bergman, the outstanding player nominee and Western All-Star for the Calgary Stampeders up front.
So second and goal. It's Leader off the right side, and he crashes down around the 2. And we'd now like to welcome viewers on TSN3 who are watching the Winnipeg Jets. Just underway here, 3rd and goal Calgary on their first possession, set up by a short Medlock punt and a pass interference call inside the 5.
First decision here have to be made by one of the head coaches. It's Dave Dickinson on 3rd down. They're bringing in Nick Arbuckle, the short yardage quarterback, along with Charlie Power for a little bit of fullback blocking help. They're going to go for it, and it's over a yard.
About a yard and a half for Arbuckle and company as they dig in near the goal line, and they're going to reverse to Bangleton.
Oh, I don't know.
Trying to get outside. Right there. Touchdown. Somehow evaded Willie Jefferson to score.
Boy, it's a game of angles. Tense moment early in this one for Dave Dickinson. But the Calgary Stampeder MOP nominee got it done. He got the edge, and he got the edge of one of the best defenders in the game who took an inside route. And Bangleton got the corner.
10 touchdowns in his last 10 games. Bangleton with his second rushing touchdown of the year. And a reaction from Dave Dickinson. Beretta is 30 of 31 on converts during the regular season. And it's 7-0 early Stampeders. Calgary cashes in after great field position. And Bangleton able to beat 2 Bombers to the outside and hit Pater. He doesn't look cold.
Got the corner and got outside of one of the most athletic defensive linemen, not the most athletic defensive lineman in the game.
Here's Janarian Grant. A stutter step there, and Nate Hawley's got a second special teams tackle as Grant makes it just beyond the 25.
To show you what I'm talking about with the game of angles, and Willie Jefferson taking an inside route here and gets the wrong angle. He's got contained. If he comes upfield like that, he cuts off Reggie Bangleton on this fly sweep, but he jumps inside, and then he's got the wrong angle. Now Bangleton's speed's got him on the outside. Kamar Jordan makes a block in there to seal Adam Bighill. And there is Willie Jefferson getting coached up. Even the great ones have to get reminders.
Polaris to throw to the wide side of the field. Low delivery and dug out there by Rasheed Bailey.
Kamar Jordan just trying to get comfortable again after 14 months in rehab. And watch to the right of your screen, he gets that key block right here on Adam Bighill. So that Bighill can't scrape to make up for the poor angle from Jefferson.
Just a gain of 1 on first down, so 2nd and 9. 5 receivers out. Now Harris releases. And the pass is incomplete, intended for Darvin Adams. And so the Stampeders force a 2-and-out. Wynton McManus involved once again.
Field is tilted early. The Bombers on defense are going to have to try to make a play here to make a big play, possible turnover to try and flop the field.
Wind not a factor. Another short kick by Medlock, but gets a good bounce. And it is Jerome. And he gets drilled by Kerfala Exume, the outstanding rookie who had 25 special team tackles during the regular season. Well, Reggie Bagleton's been a touchdown machine for Calgary. Stamped with the lead. Dave Dickinson said this game might be won on the team's. Good start for Calgary. With more, let's go to our coach on the sidelines, Mike Benavides.
Absolutely, CC. The Stampeders wanted to line up to be better on special teams. They put all their linebackers on the roster with Greenwood, and all the rest of them you've already seen. 2 great covers. The other thing is special teams ball, field position. Right now in that exchange, it was 11 yards, not enough. So right now, Calgary's doing better on special teams because they were not good during the year.
Guys, they're talking about their coaches, Dexter McCoyle, Nate Hawley, Corey Greenwood back in the lineup, Wynton McManus. Now they can rotate on defense and get some of those linebackers on the cover teams.
Here's the jet, a little toss inside. And the speedster Hop hauled down by the middle linebacker, Adam Bighill.
These two teams will take the ball away from you. They're 1st and 2nd. Calgary 1st in takeaways and Winnipeg 2nd. Willie Jefferson, 12 sacks on the season. Nominee for outstanding defensive player. There's Adam Bighill in the middle. Perennial all-star in the Canadian Football League. And then back in the secondary, we have the leading DB in the league when it comes to interceptions. 9 on the year for Winston Rose on that short side corner.
14 in the last 2 years, tied for the league lead last season. 7 for Huff, so 2nd and 3. Bagleton on the waggle. They hand it off to the right side. Don Jackson met at the line of scrimmage and driven back. Stephen Richardson was there along with Jackson Jeffcoat.
You got the feeling that this defense had to make a play early. Not let the momentum of Bolivar Mitchell and that passing game here at home at McMahon Stadium get too much traction. After the big deep ball and pass interference call, they get the 2-and-out in the 2nd series. It's an important stop early on.
Janarian Grant had a couple of punt return touchdowns against Calgary in the regular season. Also returned a missed convert for 2 points against Calgary. Rob Baber with his first punt of the game. Grant from his 24. 43-yard punt. Janarian Grant brought down around the 37. Mention the Bombers won the regular season series. How close was it between these two teams? Everett could score. Stampeders 89.
Yeah.
Winnipeg 88.
Yeah, both one-possession games, very close games all the way up through the year. Winnipeg had the season series 2 games to 1. But boy, it is tough for the Bombers to win here at McMahon Stadium.
Andrew Harris trying to pick his way off the left side. Not much there. Up to the 40, he's got 3.
Zach Collar's first game back in a long time, over a year, full game, and he got out there in Winnipeg against the Calgary Stampeders and looked sharp considering that long absence from the game and concussion protocol that he went through. He's been fine for quite some time as far as his health goes. Said he took some hits in the Calgary game, felt good, jumped back up, did not bother him, no ill effects. He is 100% healthy. Can he get it done here today?
2nd and 7. 4-man rush underneath. Pass incomplete, intended for Harris. The veteran Brandon Smith there. And another 2-and-out for Winnipeg.
Zach Collaros likes a quick passing game. Won't be surprised at all to see Andrew Harris get a few of his touches, maybe even a double figures in touches through the air, and those little dump passes, almost extended runs.
Medlock's last punt, 41 yards. Jerome and Josh Huffer back. It's a better punt. And it's Jerome at his 26. And he kicks it outside. Nice return for Lorenzo Jerome in place of the injured Terry Williams. Calgary football when we come back to the West Semi. An Alberta Clipper stormed through overnight, leaving that much snow. It actually was expected to be more. Cleanup crew was busy at it. With more on the conditions, here again, Sarah.
Well, Chris, I think I can speak for everyone on the sidelines of saying we're happy that they haven't had more work to do right now with it, that the weather has improved as the day's gone on. But make no mistake, it is cold down here. There is no place that is more popular right now on the sidelines than by the heater as soon as players come off. The good news, though, is that they say that the field is in excellent condition. No one's had to change any of their footwear with it, but ball security is going to be paramount. It's something that was stressed by both teams. Running back Andrew Harris said that he feels this is one of his favorite times. He loves playing in cold weather. He feels that it gives him the edge. And as for the Stampeders, they felt coming into it that they wanted to gain the lead, especially in cold weather conditions. It was important. They were obviously able to do that.
There's that popular spot. Brings back memories of that Western final back in 1993 when 92, the Ice Bowl with Doug Flutie coming off the field with frozen hands. Up against Big Hill with the tackle.
Well, Levi Mitchell has the best winning percentage in Canadian Football League history in the regular season. Also pretty good in the playoffs and excellent here at McMahon Stadium. 5-0, has not lost a playoff game when he's played at home. And look at the touchdown to interception ratio, 13-1 when Mitchell gets a home playoff game.
And what's scary is the Stamps personnel believe he's playing better than ever.
I agree. I think it's his best football of his career since returning from injury. He missed 7 games this year.
Arbuckle, short yardage, and off the left side behind Shane Berkman, the top offensive lineman for the Stampeders this year.
Averaging over 300 yards passing since his return to the lineup. Missed 7 games when Arbuckle played, and Dickinson agreed. He said yesterday in our meeting that he feels like Bo Levi Mitchell's playing his best football of his career, not just this year. That's a career, as you know, Chris, with 77 wins to just 18 losses in the regular season.
Go back into Winnipeg territory. First down at the Bomber 49. And they called the draw with a flag down, and Don Jackson shook off the tackle attempt by Richardson to get it back near the line of scrimmage. Mercy Maston the tackle.
Offside, Winnipeg, number 5. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
So Jefferson offside. Talked about how hot Mitchell's been. Reggie Begelton talked about the confidence that brings to the Stamps offense.
It's real good knowing that you have a leader like Bo and a guy with experience like that you don't have to worry about somebody else's job. You could really just focus on yourself. You know Bo is going to get it out there. He's going to give you chances, and especially if he trusts you, you could go out there and honestly just play loose.
There's Mitchell throwing and drop. Charlie Power in the flat. The fullback unable to bring that in.
I give him an excuse. He
was,
yeah. I think he was. That sun coming off the edge of McMahon Stadium here and hit him just as he turned. Maybe a little surprised he's not exactly a #1 target in this offense, but
Dave Dickinson lamented yesterday it probably more dropped by this Calgary team than he's seen in a long time as well. So 2nd and 5. Jefferson lines up inside and they've drawn him up. again.
That's Mitchell with a staggered snap count. This is now. Did he move? Did he get one of his O-line moving first? We're deciphering that right now. The command center giving the officials on the field some help here in real time.
Procedure. Calgary, number 62. 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
Coach Neil Kazatani, the right tackle, who flinched first.
Yeah, it was a staggered snap count by Bo Levi Mitchell, almost intentionally trying to call or draw the Winnipeg defensive line offside, but just a little bit of a rock back from Kazatani.
That'll be 2nd and 10. Eagleton on the waggle. Mitchell looking the other way, wants Huff. Flag down. Pass caught, which would be a first down. Let's check the flag.
There's a confidence in Bo Levi Mitchell on the throw. He's got Huff on the outside, but he had Marcus Sales, the defensive halfback, cutting underneath that throw. Was confident in it anyway. Got it outside to
Illegal contact on a receiver, Winnipeg, number 14. The penalty is going to be declined. Play resulted in a first down.
Take the play, not the penalty.
Flag on Marcus Sales.
You see Sales underneath. He's almost surprised that Mitchell made that throw.
12-yard connection, first down. Bomber 36. Jackson inside. Shrugged off the first tackle and down to the 30-yard line. Pickup of 6 for Don Jackson. Stampeders have not had a 100-yard rushing game as a team in the last 8 games.
No, this is a team that ranked last in the league running the football against the best run defense in the Canadian Football League, the Bombers. So Dave Dickinson, though, is still trying to get that balance in the offense. His play calling and involving Don Jackson. Don Jackson runs angry. He did that one on his own.
So second and about 3.5. Short drop, quick hitter, caught. And Bingleton driven back by the Western All-Star Sales. But it is a first down for the Stamps.
Great matchup here. We'll watch a lot of that. Either Kamar Jordan or Reggie Bingleton into the boundary against Marcus Sales. And a little sit-down curl at the first down marker in front of 14. Bingleton gave us a little bit of a scouting report against the DBs. And Bola said Marcus Sales really good at coming out of his break and pivoting.
Ozzie Leader in the backfield. He releases as a 6 receiver. Mitchell got a lot of time throwing into the end zone. And pass incomplete, knocked down there by the corner, Mike Jones, with Urgi Mayala, the intended target.
Couple of options once Mitchell negotiated the pocket like he did. He's got Mayala, the guy that he ends up going to. He starts out as the wide receiver. They push the flat. Now, as he gets outside here, Mitchell's got a couple of openings. He's got one to Bingleton on the Laird route. He wanted it all. Now, Mike Jones at the end of this play, at the top of it, he got up and kind of celebrated. That one he should have had. That takes points off the board.
Mayala's been hot. 5 touchdowns in his last 4. Nice play at the drive. 2nd and 10. And Mitchell downfield again. Simultaneous catch. Huff and Jones, and that'll go to the offense. The official's going to talk about it.
No, same turnover.
Give it to the defense. They're giving it to Jones. And it's a huge takeaway. Dave Dickinson wants another look. So it wasn't ruled simultaneous because that does go to the offense, but Mike Jones has his first Canadian Football League interception.
Calgary Stampeders going after Mike Jones, and I thought he had early possession, and then Huff tried to battle his way back into that. And if it was If it's Jones with that early possession right there, and then Huff
play
comes
is under
back.
automatic review by the command center.
So any turnover is reviewed, and the command center doing that now. Jones got 2 hands on it initially, and Huff does a job to battle to try and get it back and create the debate.
He's going to create a debate, but the mandate from about the halfway point of the regular season for the command center has been to only overturn a play that's been challenged if they see clear and an obvious mistake was made on the field. But Huff is making it a tough call, isn't he?
Sure is. Jones let one get away in the end zone, but comes back on the very next play, and let's find out if this one will stand for the Bombers.
After review by the command center, the ruling on the field stands. First down, Winnipeg.
Huge takeaway in the final minute of this opening quarter on the interception by Mike Jones. A long field for the Bombers, but Calgary comes away empty. Bombers need to kickstart their offense. From his end zone, stretching it for Adams. Got it up around the 40-yard line. And Winnipeg's got its biggest offensive play on the final play of this first quarter. 34-yard connection, Collaros to Darvin Adams. So Mike Jones with a huge interception. And then Collaros from his goal line, finding his deep threat, Darvin Adams, to give Winnipeg some breathing room at the end of quarter number 1. Third straight game between these two teams. Winnipeg's been shut out in the first quarter, but they get a little momentum over the last 2 plays of that opening 15 minutes.
Yeah, big play defensively from Mike Jones, and then right after that, Zach Collaros takes that momentum and hits Darvin Adams on really the only big offensive play for the Bombers in the first quarter. Just 12 yards rushing on 2 carries for Andrew Harris. That's a surprise with a team in Winnipeg that has led the league in rushing all year.
Looks like Calgary is loading up on defense to stop Harris on first down and make Collaros beat them with the pass on second down.
Yeah, I still think you go to Wabrunya, and that's the run game for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and then go to play action out of it. It can also demoralize the defense when they're playing to stop the run and you can still run successfully.
Bombers the highest scoring first quarter team in the league this year, but the 6th straight game they've trailed after the first quarter. Here's a catch for Kenny Lawler up near midfield, so they put back-to-back first downs on the board and starting to get a little traction. Royce Mechie, the tackle for Calgary.
Well, and they got out of the hole. They got out of the hole of that bad field position. Their defense gets a stop. Interception by Jones. Collaros to Darvin Adams down the sideline, and now Kenny Lawler, rookie nominee for the Bombers, 12-yard gain.
Here's Harris, left side, across midfield, and then got sliced down on the play by Trey Roberson, the all-star corner. 4 for Andrew Harris.
Andrew Harris got that power, speed combination, also outstanding vision, sees the hole, hits it off the left side. Motivated leading rusher in the Canadian Football League.
Dexter McCoyle checks in, a 3-man front for Calgary on 2nd and 6. Flag down, play will not get off.
Just 3-man pressure there from Calgary, and you heard Coach Benavides talk about it with regards to special teams, but with all these linebackers in the Calgary defensive lineup.
Procedure. Winnipeg, number 51. 5-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
Few of those so far. Quick twitch penalties. Guys are amped up.
see the 3 down linemen. That's extra linebackers that Calgary can go with. It's basically a 34. Brent Monson, the defensive coordinator, can change it up and get athletic linebackers out there. They can go sideline to sideline. Back to the 40 look on this play.
2nd and 11. Harris releases, and Polaris couldn't get it to him as he got hammered behind the line of scrimmage. The pressure coming from Chris Kasher, who was in the Bomber camp and released by the Bombers in 2018.
Yeah, a little extra motivation for Kasher. 7 sacks on the season. There he is down at the bottom of your screen. Come on! A little bit of a twist with his inside defensive tackle in Jabbar Westerman.
4th straight punt for Medlock.
Got some field position back there.
Josh Huff. Flag comes down as Huff is dropped around the 25-yard line. Thomas Miles was downfield. We'll sort out the penalty when we come back to Snowy McMahon. Was on Richie Sindani for an illegal block, so it's a long field for the Stampeders for the first time today, as they'll start at their own 8-yard line. Lamar Jordan back in the Stampeder offense, has yet to be targeted. Made a key block on the touchdown. And a crossing road incomplete for Bagleton.
Well, we talked about it off the top. Lamar Jordan and just the peaks and valleys in his career. Just to be back after 14 months in rehab for a knee that had to be reconstructed. He admitted to us yesterday that, you know, he's had to sort of learn a little bit different ways to run routes in just the week of practice.
Big second, though. Big 2nd and 10 play here. Mitchell in trouble down in the goal line, and he's going to drop it at the feet of some live football. Kyrie Wilson, they're saying incomplete. And I don't think anybody heard the whistle.
I don't think there's any question that his arm was going for it.
But is it a safety? Was that grounding the football from the end zone? I think that's what the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are arguing here. Was there a receiver there? It looked like it dropped at the feet of the right guard, Ryan Sevier.
Let's just make sure, first of all, it's not a fumble. And it's not. It's a forward throwing motion right to the feet of Sevier.
But nobody's in the vicinity. And it's
On the previous play, there was no receiver in the area when the Calgary quarterback dumped the ball or intentional grounding in the end zone. Therefore, we have a safety scored.
So it is 2 points for the Bombers, and Stampeders will have to kick it away. Nobody was in the area who was eligible to catch that pass.
Yeah, and if it's behind the line of scrimmage, then that's why the safety is awarded. If it's across the line of scrimmage, there doesn't have to be a receiver in the vicinity, and it's just incomplete. But there wasn't.
Jackson Jeffcoat putting on the heat.
Well, he's money in the playoffs. Last year, 2 playoff games for Winnipeg, Jeffcoat had 4 sacks, 2 in each game.
Hey, we got it. Let's go.
The big series for the Bomber defense, and it began with a penalty on the punt return against Calgary that backed them up.
Lorenzo, you're high and outside. Riley, high and outside. It's in the middle.
And a reminder, Shaw Road to the Grey Cup continues next week. Our congratulations to Jason Moss and the Eskimos. CJ Gable, a big day, and how about Trevor Harris? So it will be the crossover Eskimos against the 15-win Tiger Cats next Sunday in the Eastern Final.
And apparently sold out Eastern Final.
And the donut box. So has the momentum shifted for the first time in this game. Stampeders dominated most of the first quarter, but now the Bombers on the board with The defense forcing a safety. And the kickoff to Janarian Grant. And Grant brings it back to the 50-yard line. So Zach Collaros comes back onto the field with Andrew Harris. Decent field position to start the drive.
Well, he led the league in carries, led the league in yards, just shy of 300 ahead of William Stanback, and for 3 years in a row has been the leading rusher. And if Normie Kwong was the standard until John Cornish took over, Andrew Harris has now passed both all time. Over 9,000 yards, and Andrew Harris another 1,000-yard plus season, 1,300 plus.
Best field position start. Nick Dembski got away, and Dembski able to advance for a first down, a 12-yard pickup, and looked like he almost broke that one loose.
Well, they work in tandem. Dembski will run the ball from that slot back position more than any slot back in the league. In fact, Dembski in the regular season had 24 carries, a lot of them in that fly sweep look, but does a nice job on this run, just breaking tackles after first contact.
147 yards rushing for Nick Dembski, 543 receiving. A tough snap from center. Harris gets the handoff anyway. And gets stopped. And we should mention, reinforce, that's Cody Speller in for the first time as the starting center. The second-year man out of McMaster's, Michael Couture, hurt and not able to go today after playing all 18 in the regular season.
What does Calgary do to try and confuse the center? Because Cody Speller is the guy who's got to make the checks up front, make sure that offensive line are on the same page.
2nd and 8. And looking for Wolatarski. He's got the catch, and Wolatarski nearly got away. Had a touchdown in last year's Western Final, and probably amped up because his Minnesota Golden Gophers had a huge win yesterday against Penn State.
Yeah, it's getting to that time of year. Collaros with a nice throw outside. Now this is a guy who's going to use the whole field now. He's going to spread it out and take what the defense gives him. He got a zone look, so he got it to Wolatarski outside.
Yeah, the alma mater 9-0 for the first time in over 100 years. Bombers go to double tight ends. And they fake the jet sweep, the direct snap, and Harris straight ahead down to about the 27 as 3 more.
All that police might want to go back to that jet sweep look.
Yeah,
because it looked like Kenny Lawler had something if they want to make that handoff. That direct snap to Andrew Harris changed things up a little bit. Different look for Winnipeg. You know both these teams will make some adjustments, even though they've played each other a ton in the last few weeks.
Boyle back in, 2nd and 7. 2 for 6 on these conversions. Pressure coming, and Collaros hurried the pass. It's incomplete. Brandon Smith with the halfback blitz.
They can do that, Chris, because Dexter McCoyle, late pickup for Calgary, and an excellent one by John Hufnagel, can cover. He can cover and play man-to-man, and he does that down here at the bottom. So that means you can change it up and not only send your linebacker, you can send a halfback and maybe confuse a blocking scheme. So that time it's Brandon Smith going, and Dexter McCoyle, who had a pick in Calgary's last game in BC to wrap things up, on the field there to cover Andrew Harris.
Well, here's Medlock from 34 yards out. Splits the uprights, and it's a 7-5 game. Mike O'Shea's club bouncing back. When you're mentioned with Alan Pitts and Dave Sapunjas in Calgary, you've had a heck of a year receiving.
100-yard season catching the ball, 1,400 receiving yards, double figures in touchdowns. MOP candidate Reggie Begelton. Every football player has their journey, their story. It's been up and down for Begelton, and he's had to show some patience to get his name up there with Alan Pitts and Dave Sapunjas. Was cut in 2017 and brought back by Calgary.
Had a 3-touchdown game against Winnipeg earlier this year. Here's Jordan with the catch. And dropped around the 37-yard line, but good to see him back receiving. He gets a nice round of applause here from the fans at McMahon.
Absolutely, and for his psyche alone, I mean, Kamar Jordan needed to get this one. He needed to put this one in the bank, even though it's a quick out, high percentage throw, take a hit, get tackled, catch the football. Now that one's behind him, and he can move on and just be the Kamar Jordan we're used to seeing. Last year was on pace for about 1,800 yards receiving.
So second, looked like they were in the 5-yard restraining area. Mercy Maston was on the blitz, but jumped the gun again. These the two least penalized teams in the league.
Offside, Winnipeg, number 36. 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
But second and 2, and lots of options for Calgary after that penalty.
Bring in Charlie Power. Sarah said it in the pregame show, but we asked Bo Levi Mitchell if he had his choice on run-pass ratio, what would he pick? He said 100% pass.
We know he's not likely to run the football. This is the 7th rush of the game. 9 passing, 7 running, and Don Jackson's got a first down. Bo Levi Mitchell has 2 carries this year for 4 yards.
Yeah.
They came in week 1.
But yet, the Calgary Stampeders often lead the league in sacks allowed because of his recognition of defenses. He reads quickly, and they haven't really had a run game to speak of. I mean, they've had to rush by committee with Romar Morris, Kadeem Carey, Don Jackson. Ante Leader started a couple of games. Terry Williams has worked through that. It was a scratch today.
15 yards, 7 carries so far. Mitchell with time. And that one batted down. Kyrie Wilson, the weak side linebacker, got his mitts on it.
Just drops out of there and almost shows like he may come on a blitz here and then drops out of it. Number 19 to the left of that goalpost and gets underneath the throw here. It looks like he's going to jump that crosser, but see, he leaves it and goes to that open area.
Go 2nd and 10. Jordan on the waggle. Far side, and he short hopped that.
Another knockdown. I think it was Willie.
Willie Jefferson, who led the league, set a record for knockdowns by defensive linemen with 16.
He's so good at it. He's lined up over here to the right side of the offensive formation. And Kazatani's working on him. He holds him at the line of scrimmage, but that doesn't mean the play's over with Willie Jefferson. He's got that great wingspan, and he gets another one.
So May for the boot. Here's Grant at the 25. Another good return after a 38-yard punt. Janarian Grant out of bounds, but the defense steps up here and knocked down by Kyrie Wilson, and then big Willie Jefferson, 6'7". Did he get his hand on it? An incompletion to Huff. Bomber football.
Multiple personnel group, multiple substitutions. The only touchdown really came off of PI. So both sides of the ball, both defenses are doing a great job of switching it up. You see different defensive ends inside. You see pressure. Both groups doing a great job of defense. Back up to the warm box upstairs.
Way to go, Coach. Hey, you know, Bo Levi Mitchell told us yesterday that Winnipeg, part of the best team in the league that he faces, making adjustments defensively as the game goes on.
Harris, not much there. Stopped at the 45-yard line prior to that play. Bombers of 102 yards of offense so far. Calgary's been limited to 56, and Andrew Harris slow to get up. Gonna stay in. 2nd and 8 coming. Harris is yet to be targeted. There's a receiver by Collaros. Got some time over the middle, and this one Incomplete, should have been picked off. Corey Greenwood had his hands on the football. Back for the first time after missing 6 games and unable to reel that one in.
Kingston, Ontario native is going to just drop out of here, get underneath the throw, much like Kyrie Wilson did for the Bombers on defense. Is patient, waits, he sees the under, but he knows if there's an under, there's an over behind me, and he waits on it, just can't hang on.
Third 2 and out for Winnipeg. Best punt by Medlock, a 50-yarder, but Jerome gets to the outside and cuts past Medlock. He's across midfield with one man to catch him, but he runs out of bounds down around the 40-yard line as Jerome, I think, ran out of gas.
Terry Williams was a late scratch in this one. Normally the returner for Calgary, and a very good one. So this was going to be interesting to see how Lorenzo Jerome was going to handle the return game. Well, there's your answer early. A nice return to the outside. Good inside cut on the kicker. And by the way, that's Medlock's job. Make sure he turns inside, but 53-yard return.
The longest punt return by Calgary this season. 53-yarder. Corey Jones was there angling him to the sidelines. So he flips the field. Yep. And Mitchell starts at the Bomber 42.
The Bombers have been out there defensively for 18 snaps. In 7 of them, they've sent 5 or more, trying to make Bo Levi Mitchell uncomfortable and change his launch point. By the way, it didn't look like Jefferson did get the knockdown on that play, but Mitchell did have to throw it around his outstretched arms. That last incompletion. So we'll see if on the sudden change Calgary can capitalize here.
Timer, please reset the clock to 4:28. 4:28.
Oh, clock issue. That's why Calgary was asked to huddle up once again. Put 21 seconds back on the clock. Second time that the Stampeders have started on the Winnipeg side of half. Since 1990, Winnipeg 5-26 here at McMahon. First down Stamps, Don Jackson. And Jackson carries the pile down around the 38-yard line and has more.
I'd say based on what we've seen through the regular season with the Calgary run game, this is a pretty good job by Don Jackson, getting a lot of this yardage on his own, especially on first down, to give Mitchell more manageable second down situations.
Feels like Dave Dickinson's determined to
absolutely
to make some inroads on the ground,
keeping that balance in there.
Second and 6. Fake to Jackson. Josh Huff's got it. And Huff brought down around the 32-yard line. And he's close to the first down. Mayala with the block that will create this survey on whether or not he's got enough.
Huff comes in and then shoots right back out to that same short side. Nice block on Winston Rose by Mayala, as you mentioned.
3rd and inches.
Second half of the season by Hergy Mayala.
Was it ever?
200-yard games in his last 5.
And we're coming up to 3rd and inches, but we've hit the 3-minute warning, so we'll step aside. 3 minutes to go in this defensive struggle at McMahon.
3 minutes to halftime, and offense is coming at a premium. We'll talk about that and get reaction from Montreal as well, where the Edmonton Eskimos beat the Alouettes to advance to Hamilton next week in the Eastern Final. And the 7-11 player rankings look at the best performances today so far. Still lots more to be played as we go back to Chris and Glenn.
Had a few more explosion plays in that first game. That was some Eastern semifinal. Eskimos over the Alouettes. 3rd and inches here. Nagar buckle in on the short yardage. And he'll plow ahead for the necessary distance. And while they move the chains, congratulations to Acadia, Montreal, McMaster, and Calgary. Final four in U-Sport football. Dinos winning here yesterday against University of Saskatchewan on a
My Huskies went down
on a snowy field here in McMahon. Laval and Western losing at home. And if you had that on a bet, you got pretty good odds. Don Jackson caught home. And his best run of the game, it's a first down near the Winnipeg 20.
Yeah, I love it. It's like switching to southpaw for Dave Dickinson and the play calling to just continue to involve the run game. And you're going to see a nice block up front. Ucumbre Williams, the big boys love when you get that run game going. Nice call on first down and go to that draw. Inside handoff. Ucumbre Williams with a big block to open up the hole. He just pushes Stephen Richardson right out of the way.
To the 21, so 9 for Jackson, 2nd and 1. Back in Arbuckle. Now it's a first down. So they're making some inroads on the ground.
It's also a bit of a message, don't you think, Chris, when you come into a game, everyone's talking about the #1 run defense, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and Calgary doesn't run the ball. And for Dave Dickinson to say, you know what, let's just see. Let's get Don Jackson in there. We may see a little of Monte Leader as well, more of a power back as this game goes on. But I like the play calling, and the balance is there for Calgary.
Breaking some tendencies. Another gunslinger back. 1st and 10. Second red zone of the game. He's got Pangleton inside. Kicks it outside. Touchdown. Reggie Pangleton.
And that's what the balance gets you. The balance gets your quarterback a split second more to throw the football, and it opens up holes in the linebacking core. Play action to Don Jackson. There's the hole because the linebacker steps up to stop Don Jackson. That was Kyrie Wilson. Now he's in a chase position, and Pangleton, with his speed, gets there.
3 touchdowns against the Bombers 23 days ago here, and now he's got 2, one on the ground and 1 by pass to increase the Stamp lead.
Sudden change on the big return. Special teams.
Convert from Paredes good. 14-5 the lead. Reggie Pangleton's become a Canadian Football League star in 2019.
Oh my! It's cold out here.
Usually they get a linebacker dropping, but Wilson steps up here. Pangleton on the curl, right in behind him. That's what the balance in the run game will give you. Bo Levi Mitchell, fake it to Don Jackson. He's got the linebacker up and the hole right in behind him, and that's where Pangleton will sit down. Well executed, ball is right there on time, and then Pangleton does the rest.
6-play drive, 42 yards after that huge punt return by Lorenzo Jerome. So a minute 27
Love
left.
you, Mama. Love you, Daddy. Everybody that's watching back home. I hope y'all enjoying this.
We're watching in Texas. Here's Grant. At the 35, he gets stopped. Nate Hawley's been leading the charge in that department all afternoon long. Let's check in on the sidelines. Here's Sarah Orleski.
Well, when we asked Kamar Jordan about the fact that he was going to be playing in this game after everything that's happened over the last 14 months, how do you describe it? It's crazy. Certainly nobody, including himself, expecting for him to be able to play this season. A big boost, though, for this club because they can't just key in on Reggie Pangleton. You have to respect Kamar Jordan as well. One of the things, though, to keep an eye on when it comes to his knee, they are wrapping it on the sidelines. As I mentioned, it's very cold out here. With the heating pad, when he comes off sometimes, try to keep it loose, but something to keep an eye on going forward.
Yeah, and I've noticed that they're not playing him every snap. Kamar Jordan occasionally will come out on first down. Now, first down has been a rundown here this afternoon for Dave Dickinson, so they're just keeping it warm and keeping him fresh because he's in the lineup for Eric Rogers, and Eric Rogers is playoff. He's money.
Strebler on second down, and Strebler got that first down with authority after the 9-yard run by Nick Dipsky. The tackle on the play by Jamar Wall. And Strebler to the sidelines, and back comes Collaros. Critical final minute here of this first half for the Bombers to close the gap.
Not only good to see Kamar Jordan make that first catch, but also that first block. Yeah, Reggie Bagleton's first touchdown.
6 receivers out. Collaros finally dumps it off underneath to Harris, but with McManus closed quickly on him. Nobody downfield for Collaros to spot. So the first catch of the afternoon for Harris, the 5th different receiver for Collaros, but nobody's got more than one. 2nd and 7. That one got over the middle. Mechie was there, and it is picked off. McManus got it on the tip from Mechie, but it might be pass interference against the safety, Royce Mechie.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he got there just a little bit early. Missed the last game of the regular season. Nick Dembski's running that curl route deep, and Royce Mechie comes up. Now, does he make early contact? I believe that's what the flag will be.
Defensive pass interference. Calgary, number 16, spot the foul. Automatic first down.
Just 9 DPI calls against Calgary this year, fewest in the league.
3 receivers into the boundary here for Dembski, and runs that curl. Here comes the contact. Not by much, but it was early.
11-yard penalty, and Collaros throws that incomplete with the heat coming on. They're about 10 yards away from... They might be in Medlock range now, but with the cold weather, you'd like to get it closer than that.
Well, Justin Medlock, you're right. The cold weather changes it, but Medlock did attempt more 50-plus field goals than any kicker in the league this year. Good at him. 6 of 8.
Bombers thinking about more than 3, though. 2nd and 10. And Collaros over the middle, incomplete. Unable to connect with Darvin Adams. And so do they try a 52-yarder?
Looks like Calgary will go with Josh Hoffback if they do try. You see Darvin Adams, middle of your screen, sits down. I thought he had Andrew Harris right there that had a lot of running room in front of him if Collaros saw him, but they're going to try a long one.
Yep.
They miss it, it's returnable.
That's back. Certainly his range. 55 is long of the year, but in the cold, does he have enough? He does.
He caught it.
Nailed it.
Money.
That's what they call him. And a money kick for Justin Medlock to make it a 6-point Stampeder lead.
I tell you what, that is a major kick. It gets the Bombers some momentum, but with this kind of weather condition, you are looking at a ball that feels like kicking a brick.
And a 57-yarder in the West Final last year, Mike O'Shea pumped up by Medlock, nailing that from long distance.
And the head coach making a note that my kicker, even in these conditions, is good past 50 yards.
19 seconds left. The Stamps aren't going to take any chances. And number 19 takes a knee for the first time. He'll do it once more, and they'll head to the locker rooms.
A close game between these two teams in 2019. Yeah, that makes sense.
No one should be surprised. A couple of Reggie Bagleton touchdowns, though, and that puts the home team on top after 30 minutes as we head back to the warm confines of the studio for Ram at the Half with Rod Smith.
Thank you, Chris. The halftime show brought to you by the Ram 1500 2019 North American Truck of the Year, another winning season for Ram. At the half, and it is the Stampeders leading it now by 6 points. Big plays leading to Calgary short field touchdown drives, the punt return, and before that, the pass interference. Back with Henry and Matty and Milton. Aside from that, though, it's been tough going for offenses, and maybe not all that surprising, given the conditions there, the cold in Calgary.
Oh, well, Mother Nature's in full effect today, and we talk about the effectiveness of the passing games will be null and void today because of the conditions on the field. You're not going to see a lot of man-to-man in games like this based on the fact of all the cutting and things that take place. So take heed, quarterbacks. When throwing crossing routes, you got to be mindful that linebackers are sitting in the middle, watching your eyes, seeing where you're going with the pass, and they're trying to get the interception. Well, both quarterbacks almost had some near interceptions that occurred, which, eventually is going to lead to trouble in the second half if they continue to do this. But, hey, kudos to Calgary. Look, guys, they found a way to get the running game going, which we talked about was going to be very important because that helps keep the defense off balance to where they're adding guys in the box. But for Winnipeg, we got to see more of this right now because they're the #1 rushing team in this league, and they're not running Andrew Harris.
Yeah, I agree. Winnipeg certainly needs to get the running game going. Second and longs is not a situation you want to be in these field conditions. I speak of the field conditions because typically it's a north-south ball game. You hear that a lot this time of year, and that's when you want to have on the football field everybody that's going north and south when they're touching the football. When you're going east and west, it's awfully difficult. But Calgary proved the odds wrong, certainly on third and goal down here. They go Bagleton sideline to sideline. He actually gets leverage on Willie and scores a walk-in easy touchdown here. And this, again, Josh Huff, another lateral type of play. I credit George Hopkins here for having Calgary dialed in. And then here on the touchdown, little blitz in your face, sit in the hole, Reggie Bagleton. Again,
change the direction.
Sideline to sideline, changing direction. He's like defying the odds here. And I really believe that's a heads-up play by George Hopkins, our longtime equipment manager, getting these guys dialed in. And it doesn't hurt Milt to have this football team practicing on that field too.
I think the theme of this game is patience. When you talk about the field, the weather, you're gonna have to be patient. There's not gonna be any big plays, many big plays, long drives. There's gonna be that play where you saw Jerome with the punt return setting up a touchdown. Jerome in the house. Or the pass interference setting up the touchdown. Or it may be a drop, punt, drop, whatever it may be. You're gonna have to take advantage when someone makes mistakes. Because like I said before, it's not going to be too many big plays or long drives because of the field condition and, of course, the weather.
And yet I still do wonder about that return game. We've seen it when the conditions are a little bit slick. And with Terry Williams out, thought disadvantaged Calgary, and then Jerome with that big return leading to Stampeders' second touchdown. So that's the state of things now. Further thoughts now as we go back to McMahon and join Sarah Oleski with the coach, Mike Benavides. Sarah?
Thanks, Rod. And when you look at that first half, you look at the way things started for the Stampeders, were they able to come out and execute their game plan?
They absolutely did. They wanted to attack early and try and get on the scoreboard early, get this crowd behind them, and then play their game. They also wanted to play great special teams where they got the big return. They've done a great job covering with those linebackers, and the roster's been lined up to play better that way.
When you look at the defenses, obviously defensive battle up to this point, what stood out to you the most?
To me, it's just those guys are playing their tails off. I mean, that first score came off a PI, and when you look at the different substitutions and how they're playing up front, until that last drive by Calgary, they're doing a great job of substituting, making things different, and really giving the front four a chance. Because even when you take a look at Bo, he's had to hold it a couple times, and I think the coverage is doing a nice job of switching things up.
Coach needs to go warm up, so we're going to send it back to you guys.
All right, so there's your story. Thank you, Sarah and Benny. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Edmonton's big win in Montreal in the East semifinal, moving on to Hamilton for the Eastern final next week.
A classic Western semifinal showdown for the right to tackle Saskatchewan in the West final. Near the goal line, and they're going to reverse to Bagleton.
Oh, I don't know.
Trying to get outside. He does. Touchdown. Mitchell in trouble down in the goal line, and he's going to drop it at the feet. 2 points for the Bombers.
Tell you, Henry, I want to go to Matty nice tailgate in Calgary. What do you think?
And I'm pretty sure both Calgary and Winnipeg would love that weather too. Matty, invite these guys to your barbecue next time. And let's play some football. But today, Mother Nature's reigns supreme. Look at the rushing yards. Look at the passing yards. Not much. It's all about who takes care of the ball in the second half. They'll be victorious.
2 touchdowns. Reggie Begelton standing by with Sarah Orlesky.
Reggie, 2 touchdowns for yourself in that first half, 1 on the ground, 1 in the air. Let's talk about the 1 in the air, just the balance that we saw in that entire series for this team. How important is that going to be going forward?
It's very important. You know, we got to establish the run, but you also have to pass the ball. You can't let the elements defeat you.
When you look at the way that that first half played out, defensive battle for sure. What's going to be the key from an offensive point of view for you guys to get going in the third?
This game is all about big plays. They have playmakers on their team. We have it on our team. It's all about who can make them.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Biggest play being a punt return by Lorenzo Jerome that helped set up that second touchdown for Begelton. Zach Collaros, 5 for 13, 66 yards. They got some work to do, down by 6.
Grey Cup game 2 weeks ago here at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. The Western semifinal heading to the third quarter, 14-8 Calgary. We're headed to the sidelines here. Sarah with Willie Jefferson.
Willie, you guys are down by 6. You held Bo Levi Mitchell, though, to just over 60 yards in that first half. What was the key from a defensive standpoint?
Just getting after him, just trying to get different looks in front of his face, just getting guys in different spots and just getting them off his spot, just trying to make him move and trying to make him not get the ball to his first look to his receivers.
This defense is so good at being able to make adjustments at the half. And overall, what did you guys focus in on?
Just trying to stay locked in on our calls, finding the hot receiver, and just trying to stay after Bo. We're just trying to get him off his spot, and just get an offensive line, a lot of different stuff to look at.
Thanks so much, Willie.
Thank you.
Last 5 games that Winnipeg has faced Bo Levi Mitchell. Mitchell has averaged 325 yards passing, but as Sarah alluded to, 62 yards in that first half.
Both defenses playing well in that first half, and as the panel mentioned, maybe this does come down to a turnover, but we'll see if the offensive coaches have made the adjustments necessary to get the ball rolling.
Stamp get their hands on it first. Medlock kicks it off. It will be Jerome from the Stamp 15-yard line. Works his way down that sideline. Good return again. Jerome's had a big afternoon replacing the injured Terry Williams, 30 on that kick return. An earlier punt return set up a Bo Levi Mitchell touchdown. 2 touchdowns for Calgary in the first half. 2 short fields when they started on the Winnipeg side of half.
1 interception there by Mike Jones in the secondary for the Bombers. Just 62 yards passing. The good news for Calgary fans, the Stampeders set up the run. Don Jackson had a couple of very good first down runs. That can pay dividends as this game goes on.
Average field position start the 41 for Calgary in the first half. They begin the second at the 46. High snap, and he had to hurry the throw, incomplete to Mayala.
See, Willie Jefferson told us that one of the things that the Bombers talked about was finding the hot receiver. Mitchell recognized his defense so well. He saw Adam Big Hill coming. There's the hot receiver. That one didn't get there. But Kyrie Wilson, he's the guy who got the reminder that time. I've got to take the hot receiver.
Second and 10. Mayala to the near side. Mitchell was looking that way. Downfield further, skips it into the feet of Sindani. So a third 2 and out for Calgary on the opening possession of this third quarter.
Now more pressure from the Bombers. Again, Jefferson at halftime talking to Sarah saying, let's get Bo Levi Mitchell off his spot. You don't necessarily have to get the sack. The sack is a sexy stat, I get it, and it's one that we track and talk about quite often, but if you can get a quarterback uncomfortable off his spot, as Willie said, you can be successful.
Here's Grant, lagging down that good huge hit. That's Nate Hawley and Riley Jones. Lorenzo Jerome all down field in a hurry.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, Nate Hawley had 3 special team tackles in that first half.
Well, let's take a look at special teams work. Rookie and special team nominee Nate Hawley. First contact, Lorenzo Jerome, who had the big return.
I see you at home. My family.
Combined for 100 tackles, both defense and special teams. Colaros gets into the wide side. Wolodarski with the second catch and a first down for the Bombers.
Well, what's the answer to this question, Chris? Andrew Harris, 6 carries for 23 yards in the first half. This one out to the outside here, but is it because Calgary defensively is taking away the run and has talked Paul LaPolice out of Andrew Harris? Or is it that Zach Colaros is a different quarterback, can use the entire field in the passing game?
7 touches for Harris, 6 on the ground. He's caught 1. And a flag flies prior to the play.
Because I agree with the panel. I just, you're averaging 147, almost 148 yards a game rushing the ball. And yes, the Calgary Stampeders know that too. So defensively, they're trying to talk the Bomber coaching staff out of that run. But as you mentioned, there's other ways to get the ball to Andrew Harris.
Calgary is challenging that Winnipeg 89 was blocking downfield before a pass was caught across the line of scrimmage. This will be reviewed.
Well, we've got a challenge on not a big play. This is an interesting use of the challenge for Dave Dickinson. We'll find out if it's great when we come back.
Challenge by Dave Dickinson.
1 for 7 during the regular season.
After review by the command center, the ruling on the field stands. Calgary is charged with their first timeout.
I'm just, it's a strange challenge because of the timing in the game. I mean, we're early second half, midfield, first down play.
It's a 12-yard play.
And a 12-yard play to use your one challenge, take a chance there is risky.
Clearly doesn't want to see Winnipeg get any early momentum here in the second half.
I guess, but
they get some here. Harris with his best run right to midfield. A first down carry of 13 for number 33.
Even if you're Dave Dickinson, you believe you're going to win that challenge, I still don't like the timing of it.
That's one you put away for something really important in the fourth quarter, usually.
Because if you lose it, you don't get another one. Still shaking his head on that one.
Yeah, will he wish he had it back? Chris Strebler comes into the game. 1st and 10 at midfield for the Bombers. Dembski, they take the end around. Strebler's going to keep. And Strebler, tough guy to bring down, but he'll get gang tackled after a carry of about 3 yards. 726 rushing yards for Chris Strebler during the season.
Filled in for Matt Nichols. Matt Nichols started the season, of course. The Bombers were 5-0 the first 5 games of the regular season under Nichols. He was injured, but had them at a 7-2 record. That's when Strebler took over, went 3-5. Until Colaros started the last game of the regular season for him.
Sack back in on 2nd and 7. 4-man rush. A little bit of time, but nobody open. Now the throw, and it's caught by Harris. Sure-handed receiver out of the backfield, and that's a clutch catch for a first down.
Yeah, Harris has been open on this play a few times, and he has been missed by Colaros. He's just going to sneak out of the backfield, and because there's layers there, the linebackers are deeper with the receiver layer. So you see Harris to the left. He's been open like that a couple of times looking for the ball. You give him the ball a little earlier, if you're Colaros, he can turn around, get his shoulders headed downfield, probably pick up another 10, 15 yards.
17 catches for Harris. It's 3rd and inches here. Strebler back in, had trouble with it, but is able to recover. Now a flag comes down.
Oh, he juggled that baby. Nothing is guaranteed, even if you're inches away.
Offside, Calgary, number 45, 5-yard penalty, becomes first down.
Dexter McCoyle was offside, so it didn't matter, but this could have been a very anxious moment for the Bombers.
Yeah, early on in the game, Sarah Orleski talked about both teams focusing on protecting the football and ball security, and well, that was a close one for the Bombers.
Again, Streveler stays in after getting the first down. Little change up for this Calgary defense to deal with. Fake to Harris. Streveler trying to get outside, does. And pounds it down around the 34-yard line. Royce Mechie makes the tackle, but 7 more for Streveler.
Usually a quarterback reads this play and will ride the running back here with the ball in his stomach and then pull it if he sees defensively what he wants to see. I don't think Streveler was reading anything there. He was faking it to Andrew Harris and taking it around the corner.
2nd and 3. Streveler stays in. Converting at 33% on 2nd down so far. It's Dembski, and Dembski, big hole. Dembski's gonna bust it. Touchdown Bombers. And the Chris Streveler factor makes its presence here in the Western Semi.
And that time he did read it. That time Andrew Harris and Dembski switch positions. Harris goes down, plays tight end. Dembski up top at the tailback spot. And Streveler reads it, holds it in his stomach for a split second, and then gives it to him. But that run around the corner, the previous play, is the one that set that Dembski touchdown up.
Puts that defense in a bind. A 33-yard run and a big 7-play, 82-yard touchdown drive for the Bombers.
One of those guys that gets you going and gets those Bombers on the sideline jacked up.
Medlock, the convert, which gives Winnipeg its first lead of the game. They go 82, and Dembski runs to the end zone, and Winnipeg has the lead.
Shopping.
Talked about Cody Speller getting the start at center. Watch he and his right guard, Patrick Neufeld, get the blocks necessary for Dembski to score. Dembski up the middle. Speller engages right in the middle of your screen, and Neufeld gets to the 2nd level. He gets the linebacker. He cuts off Winton McManus. Dembski to the house.
Swift kick here. Ball bouncing on the turf down at the 25 to William Longley. Brings it back across the 35-yard line.
You know what it is, man? 204, I do it for the dub. Come on.
Couple rushing touchdowns in the regular season. Suits 56 yards on the ground on that last possession for Winnipeg. 112 rushing the football for the game, so they get back to what they do best.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it was Paul LaPolice, and going back to that play chart and saying, okay, we've got different ways to run the ball. If they're keying on Andrew Harris, then let's switch Andrew Harris, put him at tight end, see if they adjust to it. Corey Greenwood walked out over Harris and was real wide, couldn't get back involved in that Dembski run.
Here's Leader, and he's got something on the ground. Ante Leader pounds it into Bomber territory. 19 for Leader.
It's that time of year. Big block up front by Ryan Sevier, the right guard. He's gonna get things started for the big boy in Ante Leader. 2 starts for Leader in the regular season, both against Winnipeg. Nice block right there. He seals it, so there's a bit of a cutback lane right down the hash mark for 34.
Back to Leader this time, nothing doing. Jackson Jeffcoat crashing down to drop him for a loss.
Well, you mentioned that you're not going to see Bo Levi Mitchell run all that much, if at all. And the defensive ends They know that. So they're not going to try and make sure that they're in super contained mode on the backside of this play fake. They're just going to go and play the running back. And if Bo pulls it, they'll live to play another down after that. Richie Hall, one of the great coordinators, and making the adjustments on the fly and giving the opponent different looks.
Loss 1, 2nd and 11. Don Jackson now into the game. And Mitchell looking for Jordan, incomplete. Winston Rose was there defensively. And Calgary's kick team has to come on.
Leader in the league, great communication between he and Marcus Sales. They'd been a great combination into the boundary. And basically, as soon as Winston Rose sees that out route from the slot inside, he jumps Kamar Jordan on the curl. If there's an out, there's an in. If there's an under, there's an over. That's the way offenses work.
So Maver to punt, trying to back up the Bombers, but a short punt. Grant fields that and runs across the 20 back to the 25-yard line. And flags fly at the end of it. We'll sort it out. When we come back, Bombers lead by 1. Midway through the third quarter, let's check our game leaders so far.
Well, those numbers aren't jumping off the charts, but the weather part of the reason for that. This is more of a run-type game. So here's the running games and leader. Don Jackson was 6 for 24, most of that in the first quarter. And Dembski with the big 33-yard run added to their total. Just one catch for Adams to become their leader at that 34-yarder down the sideline early.
Penalty against Eric Metzalera at the end of that play for roughing. And here's a catch for Lawler, and he's into Calgary territory. Got bounced out at the Stamps bench around the 49-yard line. Let's go to the sidelines, and here's our coach, Mike Benavides.
Well, that last drive, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers did an outstanding job in personnel and formation. It had the Calgary Stampeders confused and matched up the personnel. So when you look at that last drive, it was fantastic what they did on the Bomber side, and they got that big score, 82-yard. Great job on that one.
There you go, Coach. Too cold for the best today, but the Peaky Blinders look is working for our coach on the sidelines.
Yes, sir.
First and 10, and it's a Wildcat to Andrew Harris. And he draws a crowd, not much there. Chris Casher and both defensive ends, Deshaun Downey, converging on Harris. And I don't think we'll see much of him as a wide receiver.
No, we won't. But great meeting with him yesterday, Chris, and Zach Collaros. Right at the end of the meeting, he turned to our coach in Mike Benavides, of course, former defensive coordinator, former head coach in BC, and basically said, hey, coach, you know, a couple of years back when you were running that man coverage and that we didn't play much, and they started talking about coverage. Zach Collaros remembered the defensive schemes that Mike Benavides ran against him and said they were so good it frustrated him.
2nd and 8. Wide side of the field, gets to Wolotarski in front of the corner, Raheem Wilson, but it will be short of the first down. Wolotarski with 4 catches on the day is max for the season, 5. Mike O'Shea, a little deliberation on the sidelines, but he's going to send out the field goal team. No, it's going to be the punt team, excuse me. So they went 52 the opposite end of the field. This tells you that either they're playing the field position game or there is a little bit more of a factor than we can tell.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's the case.
And off the side of his foot. Will there be a return a little bit, then a big hit?
Oh boy, that's going to be a late hit. I could hear the whistle up here.
Let's see, Hop along the sidelines, does step out, so the whistle sounded. But Thomas Miles didn't hear it. A reminder to all to pay your respects tomorrow to the great men and women who have served this country with such great distinction. Vimy Ridge, the key battle won in World War I.
Yeah, lots of real small and easy ways to say thank you to our men and women of the Canadian Forces. If you see one, thank them for their service. If you are in a coffee shop, buy them a coffee, say thank you for your service. And the best way to say thank you to the family of our great veterans, of course, is to wear your poppy proudly and take in the ceremonies tomorrow.
11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month.
He's out the whole time though. He keeps running.
Penalty against Miles, unnecessary roughness. Remember the penalty against the Stampeders, similarly on the last series, kick-started a touchdown drive for Winnipeg. Don Jackson and turned back by Stephen Richardson, and prior to the start of this game, second and 6, one pump, and now deep. Tight coverage and knocked down. Great defensive coverage from Nick Taylor on the intended target, Bagleton.
Well, this is outstanding coverage by Nick Taylor, because Nick Taylor is beat at the top of it, on top of this route. Bagleton, the MOP candidate, in behind him there, but he turns, is patient, sticks with it, is confident in his speed, doesn't draw the penalty flag. Outstanding coverage by Nick Taylor.
4-2 and out for the Stampeders. Brant waiting around the 30. He'll move up on this one. Take it at the 40-yard line, 34-yard punt, and Winnipeg will start around the 47-yard line. Did that ball pop loose? Bombers ended up with it.
So you saw the pregame ceremonies for Remembrance Day, and gives us a chance to congratulate the nominees for the Jake Godar Award, which is given to the player that best demonstrates the attributes of Canada's veterans in the time of war and conflict. Derek Wigan for the Calgary Stampeders, Mike Miller for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It's an award presented by Veteran Affairs Canada. Those attributes: comradeship, perseverance, community, strength, and courage.
Well, congratulations to Derek Wigan. And Mike Miller, that ball thrown into traffic.
Oh, boy.
Dexter McCoyle in the vicinity again.
That was tons of traffic. That was the 401 and rush hour type traffic. I mean, Kalara steps in here, and look at the red jerseys all over the place, plus two Bomber receivers in the same area, which is not supposed to happen.
Not the first time he's thrown into traffic here today against this Calgary defense. Dexter McCoyle's been in the middle of it. Second and 10. Gonna dump it off. Dembski, nice catch. And to midfield he goes, and lunging about a yard short, maybe a yard and a half away from a first down, but a nice grab by Dembski and solid second effort to give Mike O'Shea some choice here on what he's gonna do.
Chris, is it just me, or is Nick Dembski playing at a different speed than everybody else? He's just to the left of your screen, and Dembski just got a nice jump in his step today. You saw the touchdown. He got the chip off the edge on Cashier. Then he flares out there and then fights for an extra 2 yards to make this close and give Winnipeg a chance.
Third and less than a yard now. Strebler back in under Cody Speller, and they'll follow him for the first down.
I mean, Dembski's had a very good season. I mean, he's 543 receiving yards. It just looks to me like he's got a nice bounce in his step. He's not going down by the first tackler. First half, big run up the middle, and then the touchdown run. This season been targeted 69 times. By the way, that's the same amount of targets as Darvin Adams for first on the Bomber list.
Bombers the only team without a 1,000-yard receiver. Dembski was 5th among Canadian receivers in the league this year. Strebler once again stays in after getting the short yardage first down. Fakes the toss. It takes off. And Strebler takes the hit, but is down inside the 45-yard line. Good first down production again for 17, playing with a bad foot or ankle that has kept him out of practice. And
he gets up with a little bit of a limp, but it's pick your poison for the Calgary defense, because Andrew Harris flares out and Strebler now can run up the middle. And once he gets the ball under his arm, I mean, we're talking about a guy that becomes a tailback. So what do? It basically freezes you. You've got the leading rusher in the league flaring out with that fake. Dexter McCoyle jumps on that. And then he has to try and rebound, come back in, and get to Strebler in the middle. One way that Brent Monson can stop it is to run blitz. In other words, take all the gaps in the line of scrimmage and just blitz them. If you go play action, though, your back end's in one-on-one in that scenario.
Strebler again, first down run, crashing down to the 35-yard line. They've had the ball for more than 4 minutes extra over the Stampeders in this third quarter, and they've taken the lead heading to the fourth quarter in the Western Semi. Game, but how about the Winnipeg defense in that third quarter? Bo Levi Mitchell without a passing yard.
Yeah, at 62 yards in the first half. So not one passing yard in the third quarter. The Winnipeg defense, this is a chess game between offensive and defensive coordinators, and right now Richie Hall's winning.
You know, we mentioned to Mike O'Shea yesterday, Calgary drove for 10 touchdowns of at least 75-yard drives in the regular season against Winnipeg, and we said, how do you stop that? And he said, well, we got to get them off the field quicker, but we got to stay on the field longer. And that was the formula in the third quarter, wasn't it? This offense is staying on the field, and Richie Hall has cracked the code so far in the second half against the Calgary offense.
I don't remember a quarter covering Bo Levi Mitchell's career that he had 0 passing yards in a quarter. I don't remember it ever happening.
Strebler stays in, first down. He's going to keep the ball again. And this time they're waiting on him. Jabbar Westerman cleans up. Mike Rose there as well. And that Stamps defense trying to fire itself back up.
Now this adjustment makes sense. Remember when Coach Benavides talked about the linebackers added to the roster for Calgary? Helps them on special teams, can put them in a 30 front a couple of times, 3 down linemen, 4 linebackers. But it makes them a little bit lighter in the backside too. So the Bombers counter with Strebler and Andrew Harris and Nick Dembski in the run game.
Alaris back in, 2nd and 10. Here they come. Got it out of his hands quickly and incomplete. Trying to connect with Rasheed Bailey.
There's your blitz. Sorry, Chris. There's your run blitz. There's your Calgary. Brent Monson saying, that's it. Even if it's 2nd and long, if they pass, we're in blitz. If they don't pass, we've got all the gaps canceled. We're just going to take the gaps and cancel them so that there's no run lanes for inside. Kalaris is back in there. He tries to go over the middle. Man-to-man from Deshaun Amos. He's right in the hip pocket of Bailey.
Medlock surveying his third field goal of the game from 42 yards out.
It's a big one.
And he squeaks it in. And it's a 4-point Bomber lead. 13.5 minutes to go. Winner goes to Saskatchewan. In every game this year, the Stampeders have led by at least 9. Even the 6 games they lost, they led by 9 here, 14-5, but now trail with Mitchell going to work, setting up the screen for Jackson. And he's brought down around the 37-yard line. Drake Nevis there.
I talked about the passing game and the lack of it in the third quarter. That's Eric Rogers, who was very close to getting back in this game. He had an ankle injury, went right down to last couple of days of practice. Just money in the playoffs. 8 touchdowns in just 3 playoff games for Eric Rogers. That's almost unheard of. And a 1,000-yard receiver this year for Bo Levi Mitchell. Now, Kamar Jordan's a great story. But coming back in your first game in the cold off a reconstructed knee is a tough situation to be put in. Dave Dickinson really didn't have a choice here. Kamar Jordan was cleared medically. He looked good in practice. He's played fairly well, but just has 1 catch.
Derek Jones comes into the game at safety. Brandon Alexander to the corner as Mike Jones limped off after that last play. Leader in the backfield for Calgary on 2nd and 8. Mitchell taking a look. And unable to make the connection to Josh Huff as they went after Alexander. But another 2 and out. And the Stampeders offense spinning its tires here in the second half.
Yeah, and I'm also seeing Mitchell, who's one of the most accurate passers in the game, just missing a couple. Now he wants to throw his receiver open here and bring him back towards the ball a little bit, but he's underthrown a few routes here in this third quarter and now into the fourth. That's a catchable ball by Huff. He should have had it.
4th punt of the half. 3 2 and outs for Calgary. And Mavor not deep. Grant, it's going to be a 15-yard, no yards.
Yep.
Lorenzo Jerome was there, but Janari Grant gets loose. And now it's a foot race, but he drops the ball. And it's tagged down. And Grant's fortunate that penalty is going to save the day for the Bombers.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if his teammates went over. He got up so depressed after the ball getting punched out, and I thought it looked like his teammates walked right over to him and said, hey, there was a penalty flag.
And it's Lorenzo Jerome headed to the sidelines upset because he was the man in the 5-yard halo.
Brian, no yards, Calgary, number 49, 15-yard penalty. Illegal block, Winnipeg, number 3. We'll bounce him where the ball was first caught, 5 yards, first down.
But a reminder to Grant, who has had that issue before.
Ball security in this weather, yep.
Tangerine Raptors basketball continues tonight. Raptors head west to LA to take on LeBron James and the Lakers. Tip-off is at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on TSN. Every possession so important now. Bombers start, at their 41. Start on the ground to Harris. And he is surrounded, doesn't get back to the line of scrimmage. Dexter McCoyle's become a huge part of this Calgary defense in a hurry. Derek Wigan with first contact.
And they figured out their gap responsibilities on defense. That's about the 3rd play in a row now. They've shut down the run after the Dembski touchdown. 33-yarder.
Bombers 6 for 17 on 2nd down conversions. 2nd and 12. 4-man rush. Caleros looking for Adams. He's got him behind Trey Robertson and Darvin Adams. Touchdown Winnipeg. A silencer from Caleros. It's a 71-yard connection to Darvin Adams.
Trey Robertson was 2nd in the league in interceptions. Tries to play the ball here, but Zach Caleros has just enough on it to get it to Darvin Adams. Just enough to get it over the hand of Trey Robertson. A 71-yard touchdown throw from Zach Caleros to Darvin Adams.
Biggest play of the year for Adams. Previous long was 43, but the Bombers' deep threat gets loose at the best possible time. Medlock makes it an 11-point Winnipeg lead. Not even 5 minutes into the fourth quarter, but the Bombers expand the lead as they go deep. And 10 points on the last 2 possessions for Winnipeg.
Shout out to the crib, man.
Medlock boots it downfield. Jerome has trouble with it. Back at the 10. Makes the first man miss, but is angled out just beyond the 20-yard line.
Well, a couple of technique issues here for one of the best running defensive backs in the league. This is the matchup. He's on the outside shoulder, Trey Roberson. So when he's going to come out of his break here on this go route from Darvin Adams, watch him come out of his break. Now he's out of his back pedal. Now this is the mistake. He cuts under to the football rather than to the high shoulder. This is the target for a DB in a deep route like this from Adams. Go to the high shoulder so that if you miss the ball, you still got a chance at the receiver. Roberson cut under. Collaros made him pay.
17 unanswered for the Bombers. Here's Mitchell throwing incomplete. Ayala, the intended target. And not to offer up excuses, but one of the reasons Kamar Jordan, they felt, had to get into the game is otherwise they'd have one experienced receiver, Reggie Bagleton, and Jordan has 1 catch, but just an inexperienced group right now that are having trouble against a tough Winnipeg defense. Over the middle. And there's a clutch catch for Jordan. Right at the first down stick. Just the second Calgary first down of the second half.
Maybe this one gets him going, Chris, because it is back to Kamar Jordan. And a throw to the backside, the back shoulder. Jordan comes up with a big one. Look out.
Is intercepted. Nick Taylor has got it, and he'll hit the turf. The receiver never looked back. And I believe it was Jordan, and Nick Taylor has the pick.
Well, you can see by the reaction from Mitchell that he thought his receiver was going to bend this one in to the hash mark, and Jordan went straight down the field with it. You look like he may be favoring that knee just a little bit as he came off, because it didn't look like he came off the line of scrimmage full speed, almost like he was in a bit of a jog. It'll be to the lower part of your screen there as he was recovering from the last catch and didn't turn back to the ball. Mitchell expect him to get inside position on Nick Taylor.
Like that ball might have been tipped a little bit. I don't think it really impacted the trajectory. And Nick Taylor, who had a pick 6 against Montreal in the regular season, has a postseason interception. And nothing's gone right from that challenge on in the second half.
But somebody got a ball. They called me haircut.
First time the Bombers have started on the Calgary side of half. And Scrubber's going to go straight ahead. Flag comes down as he pounds down to around the 26.
Well, either way, gutsy effort from Kamar Jordan just to get back in the lineup with Eric Rogers not available.
Winnipeg, number 62. 10-yard penalty remains first down.
But we've seen it many, many times, Chris, and this is not an excuse, but we've seen it many times where a player coming back from an injury, even an injury like a 6-gamer or a 4-gamer, and you're coming back, that first game back, you're still not quite there, not quite to gain speed. And Kamar Jordan's coming back in a playoff scenario.
Didn't even start practicing till Wednesday of this week.
Exactly.
Been running on the field here for only 2 weeks. Cody Speller called for the hold, so backs it up to the 44. Collaros hands it off on the draw. And McCoyle steps up on Harris. Right now, Calgary could use a turnover.
Well, they need to force it, but for the Bombers, the great 1-2 punch is being created here at the quarterback position. Zach Collaros with a couple of good throws. That long one to Darvin Adams, of course. But the combination of he and Strebler running have really been the difference in this second half. Trying to contain Strebler and Andrew Harris, Nick Dembski in the run game when he's had his opportunity has been a real challenge for the Calgary defense. And then they have to go back to facing Collaros.
Dembski 53 yards on the ground, including the 33-yarder. Harris has 38. Strebler has 38. Second in a bunch. Harris makes the first man miss and then gets driven back. But in field goal range, and Calgary had to limit it to that. Corey Greenwood stepping up.
There's still plenty of time for the Calgary Stampeders to come back in this game. It's lopsided right now, and the Bombers have the momentum. But how many times have we seen it? And the Stamps have been in close games all season long.
Yep. 14 of 18 decided by
one possession,
touchdown or less. Medlock trying to make it a 2-touchdown lead. And 45 yards out. Off the upright, but in.
Oh, he bounced it in.
It might be that kind of day for Winnipeg. Fortunately for Medlock, you don't have to call it. And it drops in for 3. Midway through the fourth quarter at McMahon, Zach Collaros adding to his remarkable comeback story with more to the sidelines. Here's Sarah.
Well, Chris, with the bye in the final week of the regular season for the Bombers, perhaps nobody benefited from it more than Zach Collaros, because you think he was only able to get into that one game at the final regular season game for them against the Stampeders. So for him to be able to have that extra week of preparation paid off. He said he was feeling pretty comfortable with the playbook going into this game, but he did say, it is only my second game, we'll see what happens, but he was really excited about it. From Andrew Harris's perspective, he said immediately there was respect when Collaros went into the huddle, that they could tell right away. I mean, he is an old school style quarterback, and there was immediate respect from his teammates.
Go time now for the other quarterback, who starts this drive the right way with a connection to Josh Huff for 18. Lots of time for an explosive Calgary team. But that one picked off. Undercut there by Mercy Maston. And Maston still running. He's trying to kill the clock. Helmet comes off, and Maston's going to hit the dirt. Back-to-back interceptions by the Winnipeg defense. And Maston wants a souvenir.
Well, that was a throw that Mitchell wants back because he threw it into coverage. I mean, there was a couple of Bombers that had a chance. 3 receivers into the boundary here. Go ahead, run it, guys. And you'll see.
The play was blown dead as the returner's helmet was pulled off, which is a penalty for unnecessary roughness on Calgary. 15 yards from the end of this play, first down.
I mean, it was Maston up top. Kyrie Wilson underneath had a look at it, and Winston Rose was sitting on it if Maston didn't get there. I mean, this was a throw where, you know, the last one we could say that Kamar Jordan came out of that break and didn't cut inside. That last one was on Bo.
That one has these cold Calgary fans headed to the exits. And it's Strebler. Got a crease. Chris Strebler to the corner. Touchdown. 24 yards to pay dirt. And Chris Strebler has the Bombers pointed in the direction of Saskatchewan.
Police at halftime went to the package with Strebler, Harris, and Dembski. The 3-headed monster on the ground. in combination with Collaros when he went in the passing game to execute the passing game, and that combination took over this game.
Bombers wouldn't say if he was even available to play today. He was listed as the number 3 man, but he's the leading rusher in the game now. And has a touchdown that might take Winnipeg to the West Final.
And now the big boys up front for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You can guarantee they're loving this second half with Strevler running. One guy that gets the key block here is from the backside. Jamarcus Hardrick is going to pull from right tackle, come all the way around, get the seal block on Dexter McCoyle, and Strevler bounces outside of that block, and away he goes.
"30 consecutive points for the Bombers, and they have a 27-0 lead in the second half with just under 6 minutes to go.
Now there have been some reports, not from the team, but some reports that Strevler is playing on a broken foot.
Let's go.
He talked about his injury, and he was in warm-up early on today. When he first came out, he was showing limping on that foot a little bit, but in the warm-up, probably after a little freezing, not temperature freezing, but numbing the pain, he looked a lot better.
Rome on the return, spun down at the 38-yard line, and Stampeders come back on offense, and again, they've been shut out here in the second half.
This would be the first loss ever for Bo Levi Mitchell in a playoff game here at McMahon Stadium. And that mountain that the Bombers have had to climb, you go back to 2011, they've only won here twice. And both those games for Calgary were games that didn't matter because they were in November when they'd already locked up playoff position.
Off the catch. I don't remember the last time they wore all red pants and jerseys.
Oh, you've got a theory.
But when they came out today, I wasn't sure that was the right call.
I don't think I've ever seen numbers like that. I don't care what weather it is, but for Bo Levi Mitchell, under 50 yards and a half.
Don Jackson. Big hit, but he bounces off Brandon Alexander, and away goes Jackson. And he looked pretty good in all red there, didn't he? Trying to put some light back in this Calgary attack with a 35-yard run.
Great individual effort. That's really what this is. I mean, he gets the blocks to get him to the second level up front. There's a couple of nice blocks there, but this is just outstanding individual effort. Bounce off that first tackle attempt, outrun the angles, get outside.
Go down to the Winnipeg 25. Go. Mitchell got that away. Mayala up to get it, and he'll get tagged down at the 16-yard line. Just short of the first down.
Monte Leader gets one of them. He's back in the tailback position with Mitchell. He gets one of them, but he can't get both. He's got the more dangerous up the middle. And now it's up to Mitchell to get it out of his hands quicker.
First catch for Mayala. Josh Heft has 6 of the 12 completions for Mitchell in the game. Takes a couple of looks and nearly picked off again. Maston had a shot at his second in as many series. And it'll be 3rd and 1.
We're deep into the game now. Kamar Jordan is just not quite there. It's been a heroic effort in a lot of ways, but not quite there.
Third to yard out of the gun. Pressure coming. End zone. Incomplete. And they turn it over on downs. The pass intended for Richie Sindani.
That's 3.
Well, the obvious comment is how much this Calgary offense missed Eric Rogers. Now, Aaron Beck had played, and he was close as well for Calgary in the receiving corps.
It's a big play by Marcus Sales, isn't it? John Hufnagel has always had the right formula. They've been in the Grey Cup game the last 3 years, but are running out of time here to make it a 4th straight. And the one they really wanted, the chance to win at home here at McMahon in 2 weeks' time. 3 straight turnovers for Calgary. And Harris ahead. What a second half it's been for the Bombers, one of the biggest in Winnipeg Blue Bomber history.
Game of adjustments. Paul LaPolice went to the run game. Densky up the middle. His 33-yarder, working off the run game package with Chris Strebler. Collaros in the deep throw to Darvin Adams. Second deep throw of the game for Collaros to Adams, but that one for a touchdown, and Collaros' first touchdown in playoff action. And then, most recently, Strebler around the edge.
165 yards rushing, 193 yards in the air. And it's been a tandem. It's been a long time since we've seen a tandem utilized like this. This is really old school stuff, isn't it?
Old school, but a formula that's worked nicely. And let's give a ton of credit to that Calgary defense led by Richie Hall. Or excuse me, Winnipeg defense led by Richie Hall.
2nd and 5, Harris again. And that will be a first down. It's going to take more time off the clock for the Bombers. Calgary taking the last time out before the 3-minute warning. They'll get another stop of the clock after the next play. We're going to require measurement here. And Mike O'Shea might have a decision to make here if they're inches short.
You get me tight? Okay.
Yeah,
so
like
go to
to do.
3rd down. Go to 3rd down. There we are. Okay, take it away.
Well, they've won the line of scrimmage most of the most of the night.
That will weigh heavy in this decision. Grind down the clock a little bit more when you fall forward. We'll say this about the season for Dave Dickinson. It's been really, I think, one of his best years as a head coach, and he's had great years.
And certainly his most challenging.
Without question, and that's why. I mean, this is a guy who's 53-17-2 as the head coach of the Calgary Stampeders in regular season play.
Trevor ahead. You know, he didn't need much, and he's got it. And when they unpile, they'll move the chains and they'll call for the 3-minute warning. Bombers look like they're headed to Saskatchewan. Here at McMahon, looks like we'll have a new Grey Cup champion in 2019. Unless there's miracles up Dave Dickinson's sleeve with under 2.5 to go. Strebler back in. They're going to ground and pound here. Waits for the block, gets it. That's another first down.
Just see the attention that fake to Harris generates. I mean, this has been a key. The combination of the two quarterbacks, the passing game by Collaros Strebler. But once Strebler's on the field, you know, there was 2-3 series, and that was it in the second half where Calgary kind of had figured out the gaps. But other than that, it's been the difference.
again. McManus and McCoyle on the tackle. Well, if you're wondering about third place teams going to the Cup, it last happened in 2005. Only 5 teams have done it.
Yeah, I look at the bottom one. I'm looking at that bottom note. Only once have 2 third-place teams got it done. Edmonton's in and got to go through Hamilton.
A fourth-place team or a crossover team in third place. But,
exactly.
But Edmonton got their work done today. They're headed to Hamilton, and Winnipeg is starting to pack their bags for Saskatchewan. And this Chris Streveler story has become really something, a mystery man all week. We weren't sure he could play at all. There was speculation of the broken bone, and now he starts to limp a little bit more, but he has been a deciding factor here today.
The freezing is wearing off.
You're not telling me those feet are not frozen naturally right now?
The medical freezing is wearing off. The environmental freezing is definitely settling in there. But yeah, I asked Mike O'Shea yesterday, what can you tell us about Streveler's injury? And at this time of year, this is a typical answer. Nothing.
Third down and a yard. Streveler's got that. They're up to 193 yards on the ground here.
All right.
How rich is this matchup?
All right, here we go. Saskatchewan. The Bombers are on their way. There's what they did head-to-head.
And this is blockbuster stuff anyway, but the fact that Zach Collaros is going to quarterback for Winnipeg in the West Final against Saskatchewan
absolutely
is pretty intriguing stuff. These guys are getting along now, but maybe not next week.
They're talking about the matchup right now, and again, we'll have a week of discussion on the medical reports of not only Chris Streveler, but Cody Fajardo, who has that oblique injury, and will he be able to go full on in the final?
Clock draining. Time for the Nissan Titan Player of the Game, brought to you by the Nissan Titan, ranked #1 in quality by J.D. Power.
Well, we're going with the combination, the 2-quarterback system, and it's been a while since we've seen a real potent 2-quarterback system. Collaros in the passing game, Streveler in the run game. That was a big one down the sideline. The 2 quarterbacks for the Bombers are our players of the game in this one.
Bombers heading to their 2nd consecutive Western Final. Longest current Grey Cup drought.
Hey, good job, Chief. Great job.
They need 3 wins. They've got one here. A huge hurdle today at McMahon. Knee down, game done. The Bombers have won. They're headed to the Western Final, and they're a win away from coming back to McMahon for the 2019 Grey Cup.
Good job with that, man. Good job. Good job.
Great comeback story for Zach Collaros. Just his 2nd game of the 2019 campaign. Combination of he and Streveler were the difference. Congratulations on a great Calgary season. Very, very challenging Calgary season for Dave Dickinson.
What a spectacular defensive performance by the Bombers today. Boley by Mitchell finishes 12 of 28, 116 yards, and 3 interceptions, 1 touchdown pass.
And just one special congratulations on an outstanding career. This will be it for Brandon Smith. He has said he's retiring at the end of this season. This will be his last game in the Canadian Football League. Outstanding. Pro.
174 regular season games. This is 19th postseason game. Went to 6 cups. Lots of post-game analysis coming up on SportsCenter. So it will be the Edmonton Eskimos headed to Hamilton in the Eastern Final. And a terrific West matchup as well, as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are going to head to Mosaic to meet the Saskatchewan Roughriders. What a second half for the Bombers as they took total control. They win it 35-14. So long from Snowy McMahon. Here comes SportsCenter.